My wife came to me one night, wine in hand, eyes calm, and told me she wanted to sleep with other men, just for a while, to find herself. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just listened and started planning. Because if she was going to betray our vows, I was going to make sure she remembered what loyalty used to look like, right before I burned her entire fantasy life to the ground. What she didn't know, I was recording everything. And when the truth finally came out, she didn't just lose me. She lost everything. Let me take you back to the night it all started. For the first 14 years, I thought I was one of the lucky ones. My wife, Megan, and I had what looked like a solid marriage. We met in college, both studied finance, climbed the corporate ladder together, bought a home, and eventually had 2 kids, Tommy and Ella. From the outside, we were the definition of power couple. People envied us. We had dinners with clients, vacations in Aspen, and a Christmas card that looked straight out of a Hallmark ad. But somewhere along the way, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Megan started staying late at work more often, claiming she had to network with the new partners at her firm. I didn't question it. She was driven, always had been. I figured it was just the usual climb. But then she started coming home smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. And she was distant. Not angry. Not cold. Just somewhere else. Like I was talking to a copy of her, not the real thing. Then, one evening, she hit me with it. I think we should talk about opening the marriage. Just like that. Like we were talking about trying a new dinner recipe. I stared at her for what felt like forever. The kids were asleep upstairs. The TV was still playing some reality show she liked. My hands clenched around the glass I was holding. Where is this coming from? She gave me some carefully rehearsed speech about rediscovering herself, how monogamy was a social construct, how she felt like we were more roommates than lovers. Bullshasters tea. All I could hear between her words was, I want to sleep with someone else but still keep the life we built together. I didn't yell, didn't curse. I just asked one question. Are you already seeing someone? She looked away. That was all the answer I needed. No, she said. Lie number 1. I should have walked out right then. But I needed more. I needed the truth, and she wasn't going to give it freely. The next few days were filled with this unbearable tension. I acted like I was considering her proposal. I played it cool. I told her I'd think about it. Meanwhile, I started digging. You know what they say, trust, but verify. And when that trust is already shattered, you verify everything. I checked her phone while she was in the shower. Nothing. She was smarter than that. But I found a second phone charger hidden in her purse. That's when I realized. Burner phone. I started watching her more closely. Who she texted. When she left. What she wore. She started dressing like a 25-year-old influencer, not the managing director of a consulting firm. Then, that Friday, she left for a girls' weekend. She even packed lingerie, I checked, which was rich, considering we hadn't touched each other in 2 months. I followed her. I hired a guy I know, a private investigator. And I followed her too from a distance. Tracked her to a hotel downtown, not the spa retreat she told me about. She met a man in the lobby. Tall, lean, expensive suit. Her business partner, I later learned. They kissed like teenagers. I watched them disappear into the elevator together. My stomach dropped. I'd never felt anything like that. Not even anger at first. Just hollow. Like the core of me had been carved out and left to rot. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I recorded the whole thing. And I smiled. Because if she wanted a game, she was going to get one. After I caught her in that hotel, I didn't rage. I didn't confront her in the lobby or send angry texts. No theatrics. That would have made it easy for her. Just another emotionally unstable man story she could spin to her friends or therapist. No. I played the long game. When she came home Sunday evening, she kissed me on the cheek, said the spa was relaxing but exhausting, and went to duck the kids in. I just nodded, told her I missed her, and poured us both a glass of wine. She drank hers like nothing had happened. Lie number 2. That night, I installed a keylogger on her laptop and set up a mirror on her burner phone using a trick a friend in IT showed me. She was careless. The kind of woman who underestimated the man she married. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a shadow in my own marriage, pretending, gathering, studying. And she? She was blossoming for him. His name was Ethan Calloway, VP at her firm. Divorced. 6 years older than her, with that silver fox smugness you see in men who spend too much time at the gym and not enough time raising their kids. I read every text, every photo, every filthy thing she said to him. She told him our life was dead, that she felt like a prisoner in suburbia. She even said, Brian would be better off if I left. He's too weak to live without me. That one stayed with me. Because she was wrong. I wasn't weak. I was waiting. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, screenshots. I created a Google Drive folder and labeled it Her Truth. I didn't just want a clean divorce. I wanted clarity. I wanted her to see herself through my eyes. So I waited, bided my time, planned. Her birthday was coming up in 3 weeks. She was throwing a party at our house. Big affair. Friends, colleagues, even a few neighbors. She'd planned it down to the last detail: caterer, music, candles. She wanted to celebrate with the people who mattered most. Funny thing is, I was never on that list. So I made a plan. First, I called a lawyer, Rachel Klein. She was ruthless. The kind of attorney who didn't flinch when I said, I want the house, custody, and her reputation. She just smiled. We'll make her wish she never met Ethan Calloway. Over the next few days, we drew up the paperwork. I prepped the evidence, got affidavits from the PI, printed the text logs, even had the video from the hotel surveillance. Rachel said we were sitting on a nuke, but I wasn't ready to launch it just yet. Then, one evening exactly 10 days before her party, Megan came into the bedroom wearing the same red silk robe she'd worn on our honeymoon. I feel like we've been off lately, she said. I think we should reconnect. Intimately. I stared at her, and for a second, I wanted to scream. But I just nodded. Yeah, let's try. We made love that night. She kissed me like I mattered. Like she hadn't been on her knees for another man just 2 nights earlier. I watched her sleep afterward, and I didn't feel rage. I felt pity. This woman thought she was untouchable. Thought I'd beg, crawl, compromise. She had no idea the fire she'd lit inside me, and it was about to burn everything down. The night before her party, I stayed up late. I finished compiling the last pieces of evidence and created a slideshow: photos, texts, voice recordings, edited together like a twisted highlight reel of her betrayal. I uploaded it to a hidden YouTube link. I even added subtitles. Then I printed a stack of envelopes. Inside each one, a QR code linked to the video, along with a brief note. This is what Megan was doing while you were telling her how lucky she was to have Brian. I sealed 20 of them, one for each guest. The morning of her party, I was calm. I wore my best suit, smiled, helped with the decorations, told her how proud I was of her. She kissed my cheek. You're amazing, babe. Thank you for supporting me. I looked her right in the eyes and said, always. The evening of her party was beautiful. Warm breeze, soft lighting strung across the backyard, the subtle scent of lemon candles mixed with champagne and grilled shrimp. Megan was glowing, giggling in her flowy white dress like a woman reborn. She worked the crowd effortlessly, holding a flute of Prosecco in one hand and touching arms, laughing at half-baked jokes like a politician at a donor dinner. I watched her from the patio, sipping from a glass I wasn't really drinking. A stranger would have thought I was a proud husband, basking in the admiration of his beautiful wife. But I wasn't admiring her. I was counting down. At exactly 7:45 p.m., I gave our daughter Tommy the cue we'd rehearsed. He was 11, smart as hell, and right on time, he handed Megan the mic. Mama, can Daddy do his birthday speech now? He said in his innocent, sing-song voice. Everyone clapped. Megan waved it off, flustered but pleased. Okay, if he insists. I stepped up with the mic, heart calm. I could feel Rachel's eyes on me from across the yard. She was sipping red wine like it was blood. Our lawyer, our hidden sword. I tapped the mic twice. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Megan's worked so hard to put this together, and I think we can all agree, she looks stunning. Applause. She beamed, her hand resting over her chest. And it's true, we've been through a lot together. 14 years of marriage. 2 kids. A lot of growth, a lot of change. And I've always admired one thing about Megan above all. She leaned forward slightly. Her dedication to living her truth. Megan blinked, confused, but I smiled. And I think it's only right that, tonight, on her birthday, I share that truth with all of you. I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit play on the TV behind me, our brand new outdoor flat screen. It lit up with the first frame of the video. Megan, in bed, texting Ethan. Brian is so clueless it hurts. Can't wait to taste you again this weekend. The crowd went silent. The audio kicked in, her voice from a recorded phone call. I just want one night where I feel alive again. He's not a man anymore. Just a paycheck. Then came the pictures. Hotel footage. Screenshots. The burner phone logs. The gasp from her boss, who was present, was the first audible sound. One of her friends dropped a wine glass. It shattered against the deck. Megan screamed, "What the F*** K are you doing?" I let the video keep playing. Didn't flinch. "You said you wanted an open marriage," I replied, still on mic, so I opened it. For everyone. She lunged at me, trying to grab the remote, but Rachel intercepted her like a linebacker. "Calm. Icy." She handed Megan a large envelope. "You've been served," Rachel said smoothly. "Divorce papers, along with a cease and desist from contacting your husband. All communications will go through me now." Megan looked like she was going to vomit. Her cheeks were white hot, her hair coming undone. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone," she shrieked. I leaned in close, microphone off now. My voice low, controlled. "No, Megan. You did that." I just turned the lights on. The guests didn't know what to do. Some left. Some whispered. Ethan never showed. Guess he'd heard what was coming. I had one more surprise, though. The final frame of the video. A link to a shared Google Drive folder titled, "For Full Transparency, Megan's Messages." Every text. Every lie. Every appointment. Every betrayal. Her friends, many of whom she'd lied to, stood frozen. One of them shook her head and walked straight to the front gate. Another whispered. I defended her. Later that night, the house was quiet. She was gone. Moved out before the sun came up the next morning, after the story spread across half the company. Turns out she was also flirting with her boss. Guess he didn't like what he saw in the folder either. She was placed on administrative leave within 72 hours. I didn't see her again for 2 weeks. Then she showed up. At my door. No makeup. Sweater and jeans. Like she'd lost the character she'd been playing. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't open the screen door. "There's nothing left to say." Her voice cracked. "Brian, I made a mistake. I lost myself, and No, Megan," I interrupted. "You didn't lose yourself. You found out who you really are." She started crying. But I didn't feel anything. Just calm. "I just want to fix this." "You can't fix a house that burned down while you were out lighting someone else's fireplace." Then I shut the door. After the party from hell, Megan disappeared from our lives for a while, physically, at least. Emotionally, her betrayal still echoed through every room of the house. Our daughter wouldn't speak to her. Our son, too young to fully understand, just kept asking if Mommy was coming back. I didn't have the heart to lie. I told him the truth. Mommy made a choice, buddy. And sometimes choices change everything. Meanwhile, Rachel, my attorney, was surgical. We filed on grounds of adultery. We had all the evidence, and then some. She said it was the most airtight case she'd handled in 15 years. The video alone was damning. But the texts? The audio? The paper trail of burner phones and hotel bills charged to a joint account? Nuclear. And best of all, she had no prenup. When Megan finally lawyered up, her tone shifted. Gone was the defiant, confident woman who told Ethan I was too weak to live without her. Now, her lawyer was requesting mediation. A peaceful resolution. A dignified separation. She even sent me a handwritten letter. That floored me. In it, she said things like, "I lost sight of who we were. It was a mistake, not a lifestyle. Can we raise the kids together, even if we're apart?" I read it once, then fed it through the shredder. When we got to court, she wore a pale blue blouse and minimal makeup, playing the role of the remorseful mother. I almost laughed when her attorney opened with, "Your Honor, Mrs. Weller acknowledges her mistakes, but she is committed to rebuilding a cooperative relationship for the sake of the children." Rachel stood, calm as a storm cloud. "Your Honor, we have no intention of cooperation until accountability is addressed. My client has video and written documentation of infidelity, an attempt to gaslight him into accepting an open marriage while concealing a long-standing affair, and, most egregiously, a coordinated plan involving her friends to deceive and manipulate him in a public setting." The judge raised his eyebrows. "There's evidence of all this?" Rachel slid a thick binder across the table. "Exhibits A through H." And an annotated timeline. Megan's lawyer visibly paled. Then came the twist. The one I'd been saving. Rachel knew, but Megan didn't. "You see, a week before the hearing, I reached out to Ethan's wife, his actual wife. Turns out, the divorced silver fox had been feeding Megan the same fantasy. He wasn't divorced. Not even legally separated. Just a practiced liar with a trail of broken affairs behind him. His wife? Was delighted to help. She gave U.S. bank records, texts, and a notarized statement that Ethan and Megan's relationship had cost her irreparable emotional harm, and that she planned to sue Megan personally in civil court for alienation of affection. That was the death blow. Megan turned white when Rachel handed over the new documents in court. Her hands trembled. She looked at me once, just once. I stared back. Nothing in my eyes. Not hate. Not love. Just the quiet of a man who had already let go. The judge awarded me primary custody. I kept the house, the car, and most of our savings. She got visitation and was ordered to pay support, though Rachel warned me she might lose her job soon. Which she did. Not long after the court date, word got out at her firm. Public humiliation? One thing. Lawsuit from a VP's wife? Entirely another. Ethan ghosted her. Of course. She tried reaching out to me a few weeks later, voicemails, then a letter through her lawyer. Rachel read it first. Do you want to see it? She asked me. I shook my head. Already read that chapter. It's funny. Everyone talks about revenge like it's fire and fury, screaming matches, broken glass, fists against walls. But that's not how it really is. Revenge is silence. Paperwork. A quiet voice in a courtroom reading facts. It's making someone watch the life they destroyed rebuild without them. And it's knowing they'll never be invited back in. After the court ruling, Megan officially moved out of our lives. I won custody. The house was mine, and I had more than enough to build something new. But here's the truth no one tells you. Winning still hurts. I had the legal victory, sure. I had the truth on my side, the receipts, the judge's ruling, even my children's loyalty. But at night, when the house was quiet and I was alone in a king-size bed meant for two, the silence screamed. Divorce isn't just a broken relationship. It's a death of identity. I wasn't Megan's husband anymore. I wasn't part of the golden couple anymore. I was just Brian, 42, single father, accountant, the guy who got cheated on. And everywhere I went, I saw pieces of our old life like emotional landmines. The wine glasses she picked out at that boutique in Seattle. The framed photos she'd taken on our trip to Paris. The little notes she used to leave me on the bathroom mirror. I cleared it all out. Not in a fit of rage. Not with a baseball bat and a bonfire. Just boxes. Quiet removal. The same way she'd erased our marriage from her heart. I donated her clothes. Took down the photos. Threw out the mattress. It wasn't about punishment. It was about purging the lie. The kids, they were my lifeline. Ella was 14 and quiet, more observant than she let on. Tommy was still sweet, still too young to fully process what had happened. I protected them from the worst of it. I never spoke badly about their mother. I let her have her scheduled calls. But they knew. Kids always know. There was this one moment, 2 weeks after the ruling, when I was making breakfast and Ella came into the kitchen in her hoodie and socks, leaned against the counter, and just said, "You're better without her, Dad." I stopped flipping the pancakes. "You're what?" I asked. She shrugged. "She used to look through you. Like you weren't even there." I see it now. I just didn't have the words before. I don't think she realized what that did to me. That affirmation? That someone, especially her, saw the truth without me having to say a word? That was the first brick in rebuilding my self-worth. Still, healing isn't linear. Some days I crushed it. Gym by 6 a.m. school drop-off. Work. Dinner. Stories with Tommy. A few chapters of a book. Other days? I stared at the wall for hours, replaying things I couldn't change. The what-ifs are brutal. What if I'd worked less? What if I caught it sooner? What if I had agreed to that open marriage? And then, one night, I broke. I poured myself a glass of bourbon, sat on the back porch, and scrolled through old photos on my phone. I found one from our 10th anniversary, Megan smiling at me over candlelight in Tuscany. And I lost it. I'm not talking a single tear down the cheek. I mean broken. Quiet sobs, gut-twisting grief. It felt like someone had died. Because someone had. The version of her I loved? She was gone. The life we planned? Gone. The future I pictured? Gone. And after that night, something strange happened. I started to feel lighter. I changed my routine. Stopped drinking. Started waking up earlier. Found a new therapist, one who didn't just talk, but listened. I started journaling, writing everything I felt like I was afraid to say out loud. I reconnected with old friends. Started playing guitar again, something Megan always said was a waste of time. I played it loud. I focused on the kids. Volunteered for every school event. Started a new habit. Every Sunday, we made breakfast together. Real stuff, Messy pancakes, flour everywhere, bacon crackling in the pan. Laughter. Healing. The kind of joy that's so simple it feels sacred. And slowly, I stopped checking her social media. Stopped wondering if Ethan had left her. Stopped needing closure. Because the truth is, closure isn't something you find. It's something you create. There's a part of me that's still bruised. I won't lie. Sometimes, I flinch when someone gets too close. I don't trust as easily. I don't give people access to the deepest parts of me without watching their hands first. But I'm not bitter. I'm just awake now. And that's better than anything she could have given me. I wasn't looking for anyone. That's important to understand. People like to romanticize the bounce-back relationship, but after the hell Megan put me through, I had no interest in opening my heart again just to hand someone a knife and hope they didn't twist it. I had kids to protect. A life I was rebuilding from the studs up. My heart was under renovation, too. No visitors allowed. But life, in its strange, sideways way, had other plans. It started with something simple: Tommy's soccer team. We just wrapped up a Saturday game, the kind where kids chase the ball like a swarm of bees and nobody really knows who scored. The other parents clapped, offered juice boxes, and I was cool dad smile when someone tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, I think you dropped this. I turned, and there she was, holding Tommy's water bottle with a crooked grin. Brown hair in a messy bun, oversized hoodie, faint smudge of grass on her jeans. She had that kind of tired mom energy, but her eyes, hazel and unblinking, had this spark. Oh, I said, taking the bottle. Thanks. I didn't even notice. I know the feeling, she said. I'm Nicole. My daughter Mia is on the team. She's the one who thinks every position is goalie. I laughed. Not the polite kind. The real kind. The kind I hadn't heard from myself in a while. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. Just small stuff. Kids. Work. School pickups. She didn't know my story, and I didn't ask hers. But there was something easy about her. Like sitting next to a fireplace you didn't realize you needed. The next week, I saw her again. This time at the grocery store, standing in front of the pasta sauce like she was defusing a bomb. Marinara or vodka, she muttered. Depends, I said from behind her. Are you trying to impress or survive? She turned, surprised, then smiled. Hey, it's you. It's me, I nodded. The irresponsible water bottle guy. We chatted again. Longer this time. It came out that she was also divorced, 5 years out. Her ex had traded in the family for a startup and a 25-year-old named Sierra. Classic. No hard feelings, she said, then paused. Okay. Some hard feelings. But mostly I just don't have the energy to hate him anymore. That hit me harder than I let on. We bumped into each other a few more times. Each time, it felt more natural. She didn't ask about Megan. Didn't pry. Didn't flinch when I mentioned the kids or my ex-wife's mess. She just listened and laughed and existed without expectation. That was new for me and terrifying. One night, about a month after that first soccer field encounter, we ended up sitting on a bench after practice, watching our kids kick a ball until dusk. So, she said, you've got that look. What look? The one where you're carrying something heavy, but you're pretending it's just your gym bag. I hesitated. Then I said something I hadn't said out loud to anyone outside my lawyer or therapist. My wife had an affair. Multiple, actually. Tried to open the marriage. Lied through her teeth. Humiliated me in front of half our town. Nicole didn't gasp. Didn't recoil. She just said, Jesus. That's brutal. Then she handed me her coffee. Here. You look like you need this more than I do. I don't know why, but I almost cried. Right there, on that park bench, with a stranger's cup in my hand and my kids laughing in the background. Because that moment wasn't about romance. It was about being seen. We started texting after that. Just casual things. Funny memes. Articles about terrible parenting advice. At some point, we started having dinner together after practice. Then one evening, while I was making pancakes for the kids, Nicole and Mia came over with a bottle of wine and 2 big bags of Legos. No pressure, she said. Just figured we'd make it a thing. It became a thing. Not love at first sight. Not passion in the rain. But warmth. Respect. Something steady and earned. And one night, after the kids were asleep, and we were cleaning up dishes, she looked at me and said, You're not broken, Brian. Just bruised. I didn't kiss her that night. I just held her. And she let me. Life was finding rhythm again. Not perfection, not even peace, but rhythm. The kind you find in new routines, softer conversations, and someone who sees your scars and doesn't try to cover them up. Nicole and I weren't rushing. We weren't pretending. We were just there for each other. Until Megan came back. She didn't call, didn't text, just showed up. It was a Sunday morning. Kids were still in their pajamas, the smell of pancakes hanging in the air, Nicole humming something while folding towels on the couch. I opened the door to grab the paper and there she was. Megan. Hair done. Makeup perfect. Wearing the exact perfume she wore the night she told me she wanted to open the marriage. The stench of ego hit me harder than the scent. Brian, she said, with that practiced smile. Can we talk? I didn't answer right away. Just stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You shouldn't be here. She looked past me, trying to peek inside like she had a right. I figured I'd stop by, maybe clear the air. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I crossed my arms. You've had plenty of time for that. She frowned, like I was being unreasonable. I just feel like we left things unfinished. I actually laughed at that. You mean after you were publicly exposed, humiliated, divorced, and sued for emotional damages by your boyfriend's actual wife? Yeah, I suppose there was a bit of a rushed ending. Her smile cracked. You always had a sharp tongue. You always had a dull conscience. She sighed. Look, I didn't come here to fight. I came here because I'm finally seeing what I lost. I stared at her. Really stared. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel hate. I didn't feel desire. I didn't even feel hurt. I felt bored. Like talking to someone about a book I read 10 years ago and forgot the ending. Brian, I miss our family. I miss the way you used to look at me. I miss us. I blinked. I think I want to try again, she said, almost whispering. I let that sit there. Let her feel the weight of it. Then I shook my head. No, Megan. You don't miss me. You miss the version of me who tolerated your bull's ****. She flinched. I gave you everything, I continued. I was steady, loyal, forgiving. And you gambled it for cheap thrills with a man who couldn't keep his zipper up during board meetings. People make mistakes, she whispered. People own their mistakes, I said. You repeated yours. She tried a new tactic. Lowered her voice. Is she inside? That woman? Nicole. My jaw tightened. She smiled small and bitter. So that's what this is. Playing house with someone new. I stepped forward, quiet but firm. No. This is me moving forward. And before you embarrass yourself, Nicole knows everything. She's seen the texts, heard the recordings. She knows who you are. And she loves me anyway. That's the difference. Megan's eyes burned, but she didn't speak. And here's something you should remember, I said. The kids are watching. They know what happened. And one day, when they ask for the full story, I'll tell them the truth. All of it. Not out of revenge, but out of respect for their intelligence. I took a breath. So go. Crawl back to your self-help groups. Your yoga retreats. You're next, Ethan. But don't show up here again. Not unless it's for the kids. Not unless you come humble. And not unless you come alone. She looked like she wanted to cry. But I didn't care. She walked away. And I closed the door behind her without looking back. Nicole was standing in the hallway. She didn't say a word. Just stepped forward, wrapped her arms around my waist, and held me like she'd been waiting for that moment. Like I had been. You okay? She asked, voice low. Yeah, I whispered. For the first time, yeah. 3 weeks after Megan showed up at my door, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, written in her handwriting, the same neat cursive she used when she labeled our moving boxes after our wedding. It felt almost cruel, how something so familiar could still land like a punch. I left it on the kitchen counter for 2 days. Nicole never asked. She saw it. She knew. She gave me space the way someone does when they understand that healing isn't about fixing, it's about facing. On the third morning, I sat down with a black coffee, opened the envelope, and unfolded 3 line pages. It wasn't an apology. It was a confession. She wrote about how she had spiraled, how Ethan left her the moment things went public, how her own family had distanced themselves, ashamed of how she'd handled the divorce and the kids, how the affair cost her not just her job and reputation, but her identity. She wrote about how, some nights, she still expected me to text, how silence became louder than any fight we ever had. She ended with this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I finally understand what I did. And I know I've lost the right to be part of your life in any meaningful way. But I hope, one day, you can think of me without hate. That would be enough. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and burned it in the fireplace. Because no, I couldn't think of her without hate. But I also didn't feel hate. I felt nothing. And that was everything. Later that day, I wrote my own letter. No anger. No insults. Just a clear, final message. Megan, I believe people can change. But I also believe they must live with the consequences of who they were when it mattered most. You made your choices with open eyes. And I made mine with an open heart. You gambled our family for a fleeting thrill. And you lost. I've rebuilt, not in your absence, but because of it. The kids are doing well. They laugh more. They sleep better. They ask fewer questions. That silence you now live with? That's the echo of every lie you told. I won't see you again. Not at my door. Not in my inbox. Not in my life. This letter isn't closure. It's a lock. Goodbye. Brian. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. Writing it was enough. That night, Nicole and I sat on the back porch. The kids were asleep. Summer was slipping into fall. She rested her head on my shoulder, and I told her something I hadn't said to anyone in a long time. I'm not afraid anymore. She squeezed my hand. Good. You don't have to be. We sat in silence a while longer, the kind of silence that heals instead of haunts. And I realized something. This wasn't the ending to my story. It was the prologue. If you're still reading, here's my advice. If you're the one who was cheated on, betrayed, abandoned, lied to, you will survive this. You won't just survive. You'll rise. Not with revenge. Not with rage. But with clarity. The people who betray us reveal everything we need to know about them and about ourselves. They don't destroy us. They expose us to our own strength. Let them go. Then rebuild. And when you're done, lock the door. Turn the page. And never look back.